I don't think I've ever left the claps in any of these recordings.
It would be weird if you did.
I'm just thinking about because sometimes we have some pretty good pre-sync banter.
Yeah, sometimes, but it's also probably a bit too much,
Yeah, maybe.
Because sometimes it's completely absurd as opposed to our mild absurdness that we put out to the world.
Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Mild Absurdity with Mark and Dylan. This is
Hello.
we've got into your airwaves. We're replacing shouting over the news this week with us two knuckleheads.
Mark and
Hey,
Dylan do a podcast number 4, I think, right?
I
That's what you
believe it
said
is in
earlier.
fact the fourth time. I believe there is Mark and Dylan do a podcast, Mark and Dylan do another podcast, Mark and Dylan do yet another podcast.
Yeah.
I
That
like
sounds
that.
about right.
Yeah, mate, 4 duos.
Are we into the prequel trilogy now?
Yeah, this is actually going to be the Phantom podcast, or the Podcast Menace. The Podcast Menace.
How do we include politics and trade disputes into our podcast?
I mean, if you want, we can have some incredibly poorly informed discussions straight from like r/news.
I was going to say, there's this whole Donald Trump stuff with China. I say Donald Trump stuff. There's the tariffs with China. That feels like a trade dispute, Perfect timing.
I think that is a trade dispute. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
interesting. I like any story that opens up with there's this whole Donald Trump thing.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I
a good
guess
way
we've
to
never
start our
really
podcast.
spoken about on this podcast, have we?
Hey, we're keeping it timeless, even though we did do an E3 show.
Yeah, well,
You can't
like to
date
mix things
these.
up.
Don't be absurd.
You definitely can't date E3. E3 is timeless.
Could be whenever. You never know.
I am honestly still making my way through E3 content.
Oh, there's still so much. Like, you forget about all the things you've seen. Like, I was just looking then, and one of the things that blew my mind when I saw it and then completely forgot about is that tiny snippet in the fucking... This is what I was saying to you before about the Switch, or the nonsense I was spouting. But because... Do you remember that bit in the Mario Party trailer where they just put some Switches together?
Yeah, dude.
That's
It's fucking wild.
That's crazy. That's so cool. And like, none of us mentioned it at all last week.
No, I mean, I didn't because fuck Mario Party.
I feel like something like that could make... I mean, it was... The example we got in the trailer as well was a tanks game. That you changed the map around by moving your Nintendo Switches, which is just mental. That's so cool.
I mean, I would already postulate that however much the actual physical video game cartridge for Super Mario Party costs is too high a price to pay, then having to purchase a further 3 Nintendo Switches to go along with my Nintendo Switch so that I can fully experience my Super Mario Party seems like a tall order. You could say maybe your friends have also got Nintendo Switches, but maybe they don't. And you never
Jack's
used to
got
have
one,
to...
right?
Yeah, I mean, this is true. Jack does have one. So we
And
can
I
play
do
on
want
a
to get
smaller
one.
map.
Maybe I'll get one for Christmas. I'll treat myself. And then
That'd
we
be
can have a
cool.
Mario Party. That's when it comes out anyway.
I don't want to. It's bad. Chor won't ever get one because Chor doesn't believe in console games.
But I feel like the Switch is one of those things where you can't... It's like Xbox and PlayStation, at least you can play a lot of... Not all of them, but... I mean, all the Xbox ones you can. But you can play those on the PC. They do a good job. But, like, Switch is unique, man. You can't put PCs together. It doesn't work like that.
I guess.
I feel like you can, though, can't you? That's what a cluster is. It's not the same as putting the Switches together, but it's still a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the thing about it that I find is actually pretty cool is the fact that like the synchronized screens and like that kind of stuff is pretty sweet, and I'm curious about the technology behind that and how well it works and all the various different little bits and pieces going on there. It's yet more proof, right, that Nintendo are the only fucking people on the planet who know how to actually do anything with their console.
Yeah, that's the worry, isn't it? Like, it could just be hot garbage if you aren't Nintendo. It just doesn't work. But
Like, do you remember Nintendo Labo?
it's not that long since it came about. You still see the occasional joke.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about it. I think it's 2 months since it came out tomorrow, and I'd literally forgotten about it until like last night when I heard it come up in a podcast.
It came out 420, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Spilled cardboard and smoked dank nugs on 420.
I think one of the only things I've seen about it recently was a photo of a bunch of cardboard at a game shop. And then the joke, this is a Labo sale or whatever, some bad cardboard joke about Labo or Labo.
Something like, oh,
Labo.
look, we get pre-owned
Yeah.
Labo. It's like, it's 10% off or something, I don't know. Yeah, there's some bad jokes in there, I imagine.
I feel like describing this joke will be bad, but it's a podcast. We can't really do anything else.
Shoot!
You could just have a cardboard box and fire and call it a Nintendo Fire Sale.
Yeah, that's alright. That's okay. That's not the worst thing you ever said.
So now, listeners, instead of experiencing that joke in its poor audio form, forget I said it, but also imagine that picture and then laugh. Have a good time.
Go find that meme, because we assure you it exists.
Probably. Nobody has an original thought, especially not me.
Oh man, yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't have much going on in my video game life at the moment, which ain't the best thing in the world, if I'm honest. I'm sort of a bit behind on my video games at the moment. What about you?
Yeah.
What's going on with you? This is the kind of level of content quality we're going for today.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a bold podcast choice. I've been playing. I don't think I've spoken about this on the podcast yet. I've been playing Forsaken, the new Destiny expansion.
Oh, sweet! Yes, they're big. Wait.
So this isn't the Cade thing. This isn't the thing coming out in September. It's their. It's the second DLC for the first sort of year of Destiny 2. And it is their attempt at fixing quite a broken game. I mean, the next one in September, I think, is meant to be the sort of be-all and end-all of fixing all the shit they've done. But this did a pretty good job, and I've not had much time to play the stuff in it yet, but I've had a good slog, and it actually... You want to play it. So it's got like a new story and stuff, but that's whatever. It's a bit of some DLC story. I think the improvement is that they've brought the grind back and stuff like that. So it feels like you need to actually play it to get anywhere. You don't just reach max light level instantly, and you don't get all the guns you want instantly. You play it and feel sort of like, yeah, I could keep playing this. Like, I've sat down with my brother, played it a few times, and not been like, well, that's my Destiny done for the week. I've sort of felt, you know what, I could keep playing, or come back tomorrow and play again when I've got more time. Which is actually, as sad as it is to say, quite new for me for Destiny since finishing the story, because I did enjoy playing it, but there wasn't any more to play after a day of playing it. Which I think is the problem you had, right?
Yeah, like I got all the content done and then did some strikes and then was like, yeah, I'm kind of done here. So is this Warmind that you're talking about?
Yeah. It's not Forsaken. Forsaken is the new thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
the new thing with Cade is Forsaken, or without Cade, in fact.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think bringing back random weapon rolls it's one of those things that seems really, really easy.
So that's what's coming in Forsaken.
Oh wait, is that not in this?
That's not in this yet. They've got
Okay.
some random weapon things. So like they've got this thing called Masterworks, which is sort of you've got your base weapons, and then you can have a Masterworks weapon which has a random improvement on the weapon, and also like tracks certain things. Um, so they've already got that, but then in Forsaken they're going to be doing completely random roll weapons, which is what people want because that's what I'm fairly certain that's what it was originally.
I believe so, yeah. Like that, and that's kind of the fact that that wasn't the case, especially for a loot game, is kind of maddening to me because, like, the whole thing with like Diablo is, like if you have random stat rolls on weapons, you're encouraged then to play the same things over and over again because even if you get the same weapon, you could get better stats on it. Whereas like Destiny 2, if I picked up a weapon in Destiny 2 and it was my light level,
Yeah.
or my power level, I guess it was at that point, I'd be like, well, this is has it got as good a numbers, and the power level is the same as what I'm currently using, and there is no way that I'm ever going to get one with better numbers. So then, when you invariably picked up another few of them as you played through that area, you just think, well, whatever, scrap them
Yeah.
or dismantle them all, or whatever the
Yeah.
term is.
I mean, as soon as you've got the weapon, you've got the weapon. It's just like, okay, cool. Don't need to worry about that anymore. So it's nice that they're changing that. I'm excited because, like I said, it's Bungie know how to make a shooter, so it's one of those games that feels incredible to play, but they have really let go. Like they've really dropped the ball on some of the other stuff. But from the sounds of it, this next update, I mean, this current update, they've done a really good job of fixing a lot of those things. And then this next one, it seems like they're fixing everything else. So I'm excited for that game to be like hella good again.
I mean, that's cool, right? I really wonder with Destiny if, like, for the second game in a row, they've not had enough content at first release, put out two content expansions that were okay but didn't set the world afire, and seem to be putting all their eggs in the year two big fucking game-changing expansion to unfuck their product.
It's a bit absurd, isn't it, that they've done it twice in a row now. I mean, it's why what they didn't get any sort of special mention at the that Activision board meeting, did they? Like they mentioned Call of Duty and
Yeah, when
whatever it
Activision put out
was.
their
Yearly
financial
report.
report for the year,
Yeah.
and like fucking Spyro, they put Spyro the Dragon on there as an anticipated release for the year to tell their their shareholders like, yeah, got fucking Spyro Reignited trilogy coming out. It's gonna get us loads of money. And nowhere did they even say, oh, by the way, Destiny 2, that money pit that
This was
I
like
can't imagine is cheap to just even run because of like servers and
God
shit.
no,
Like,
yeah. This was like weeks before the new update as well. This was weeks before Warmind came out, and there was no mention of it. So clearly they've lost a bit of faith. I mean, I'd say hopefully they give them another chance because they can clearly make a game, but at the same time, they proved that by the end of Destiny 1 that they could make a game and then still managed to fuck themselves. But you know, at least maybe now that they've learned that they shouldn't be going for a casual player base, because that's what ruined it. I think they
yeah,
knew that all of these other things, but they kind of wanted to seem less intimidating, because that was a big issue with Destiny 1, is that it's a time sink, isn't it? But at the same time, casual players don't stick around to games that are essentially a service, because having to pay for the DLC like 3 times a year or whatever it is, because you've got to buy the game and then the 2 DLCs
yeah,
each year, basically, is basically just subscribing to an MMO, right? It's
yeah.
just in a thirdly, how do you say, is thirdly a thing? Financially thirdly way.
Yeah, why not?
But
Yeah, I mean,
It's the
how much
same
does a
thing,
WoW
isn't it?
subscription cost?
God, I've no idea. £10 a month.
Yeah, you know what, that sounds reasonable.
But like, you're not gonna get casual players with that, are you? Because it's you want those people who will stick around. So make it worth sticking around for seems obvious.
I just
Six
like,
months for $8.69 a month, or a tenner a month if you just get 1
yeah.
month. Fucking nailed it.
So then,
Boom.
that's the thing then, right? Is if they learnt that now, and because there was the thing when Destiny 2 came out, and they were like, oh, well, we've actually got two different teams working on things, and they were like, oh, well, we'd already built so much of Destiny 2 by the time that we were making these choices about this, and there's so much stuff in the background of the way Bungie works and the way they work as part of Activision and the way games are
Yeah,
made, especially with such large games and especially with games like Destiny, where it's known for a fact that even with their improved like Destiny 2 tool set, my understanding is it's still not the best way to like the way they make Destiny is not the best way to make video games.
yeah,
So then you have to wonder, even with all of that understood and with the community understanding that, and with them making the changes they need to make, and if Forsaken comes out and everyone likes it, and then I imagine what will happen is that Forsaken will be the Taken King, and everyone will be like, oh shit, actually these are really good changes they've made, and they'll have another two expansions that are good to great, because that's my understanding is House of Wolves and the other one were both good or really good. So
yeah.
if they do that and they get themselves right back in the same position as they were in 2015 or the beginning of 2016, I guess, if they end up right back in that exact same position,
Yeah.
will anybody trust them when they say, and now you've got to pay £45 for Destiny 3?
I mean, fucking Forsaken is already like 40 quid or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's it's I think it's something like £70 for Forsaken and the season pass.
Yeah.
You're buying an entirely new game each year. And so I said this to my brother as well. And at this point, Destiny, and it's slightly different because I guess they're building on something instead. And this is what he said to me. But it's basically just the COD model. Like, you're releasing a yearly game.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're working off of the base game. But at the same time, COD is probably working off the base game. They're working off similar things. And I get that it's different developers, so maybe the working off previous things does actually end up being a 3-year cycle. So it's not quite the same, but it's still just you're buying a new game every year, which is a bit, I don't know. Will people actually stick around for that?
I don't know, man. I
Especially
really
with
don't know.
Division's gonna have free DLC. Like, that feels like something that could be a Destiny competitor.
Yeah, I mean, Ubisoft has what I would say is a fucking remarkable track record with establishing a franchise by making a game that is not by any means perfect, but demonstrates potential with a lot of roughness around the edges and can vary in quality between, Watch Dogs 1 up to, like Assassin's Creed 1.
Yeah.
But then making a second game and knocking it so far out of the fucking park, it's unreal.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed 2, incredible. Watch Dogs 2, incredible.
Yeah, if they're anything to go by, then Division 2 is going to be fucking killer. And, I mean, if the end of Division 1's life cycle is anything to go by, people were loving parts of that game at the end. People had said it had gotten really good, so... I mean, we could easily be seeing something that is just like, well, why play Division? Why play Destiny when I can play Division? And it's cheaper.
Yeah. When fucking Destiny 2 was announced, and they marketed it all about, yet again, Guardians and the story and all this other stuff, and then didn't really actually get into the mechanics of it. Whereas the Division 2 was come out, and they had like a tone piece trailer, which I didn't actually like very much with the fucking paper aeroplane, but whatever. And then they jumped straight in and went, right, here is four people playing a late game. My understanding is the level cap in the Division is level 30.
Yeah, they were showing the end,
Yeah,
like the final mission.
yeah, they were showing late game content in that trailer, which I think is significant. And then they showed you, and then they went in and said, right, there's a late game mission, and then here is what happens when you reach the level cap and you complete the story. Here's the specializations that you can get. And then they went on to say, and also in the first year, we're going to have, was it 2, 3 DLC
I think it was
expansions?
3.
Was it 3?
I think so, yeah.
So that is a company, and Ubisoft are clearly fucking savvy. That's Ubisoft going, well, people liked the shooting in our game, but thought there were some bits about it that were a bit weird. We supported it really well, ended up getting a good buzz about it. Destiny 2, well, the whole Destiny fucking franchise is on the ropes at the moment,
Yeah.
which I don't think is an unreasonable thing to say. So Ubisoft came out and went, well, why don't we market a game to people who want to play a loot shooter and demonstrate that we understand that the end game grind is what is actually important, because you will play the story missions once, and that'll be 20 hours at most. And then if we've done our jobs properly, you should then sit there and continue to shoot people and make the numbers get bigger for another 80 hours.
Yeah.
Destiny hasn't demonstrated they know how to market a game like that, and the fact that Ubisoft is doing that speaks. I think it speaks miles for the potential of that game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even saying that they're marketing it like that, Destiny had the opportunity to show off, because they've sort of shown some of the Forsaken stuff, I think. Actually, no, I might just still be thinking of Warmind. So they've showed off a bit saying what's going to happen, but they had the opportunity to market like, look, here it is actually good, and didn't take it. Maybe nobody gave them the shot, but they showed that sort of cliched fucking one of our characters is dead trailers. Does anybody actually care? That's not what you need to sell this game on. They need to stop trying to sell, like you say, Division are selling their game on playing it, because that's what people care about, and like continuing to play it. Whereas Destiny are trying to sell their DLC on some shitty story nobody cares about.
Yeah, and that's a fair point as well, Dylan. Because you know what, I don't know about you, but even as someone who has only had a casual relationship with Destiny, I'm so fucking sick of Bungie mishandling their universe.
Yeah,
They
like
have
ridiculously so.
Yeah, they have thousands of years of established lore featuring sweet fucking aliens and ancient robots that are like constantly running simulations of the universe to try and find out the truth about this and that and all this other stuff. And they don't do anything with it. The coolest bit in the 30, maybe 40 hours of Destiny 2 I played, and I didn't really do much grinding in that. It was me just going through all the story mission stuff, was that like one side mission, I forget the official name of the side mission, but that one side mission you do on the Vex planet Nessus? Nessus, yeah, where you listen to some audio logs as you chase a robot around and shoot some dudes, and those audio logs give you some just incredible flavor text about the Vex.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it was just so, like, the rest of the story in that game was so boilerplate.
Yeah, and I mean, they kind of stuck with that, because the first DLC is all about the Vex. You're going into these simulations that they're running. So they had this endless forest, which was meant to be you go in and it's different every time. So kind of there hoping to add replayability in it. So you go into this and then you do whatever mission on the other side. But you can only go into this endless forest when you're going on to another, like, essentially new sort of strike kind of thing. So whatever these DLC's missions were called, you can replay them in a heroic version, and you go through the endless forest then. But then it's like, those were okay, and the endless forest wasn't very good. It was just a corridor full of enemies, and sometimes the corridor was slightly different. And it's like, you had so much potential with the Vex stuff, like you say, it's so interesting, and then it was kind of boring. And then the Warmind stuff again, they've
Like the
Warmind's
Warminds are
really
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
And then people got quite annoyed because they just changed it. It was like, he's not actually on Earth, he's on Mars. Spoilers, but I mean, that's the beginning of the game.
Yeah, I think they announced that DLC by being like, you're gonna meet the Warmind, also you're gonna go to Mars, and everyone was like, huh?
Yeah, I think mostly people were annoyed, not because he's on Mars, because yeah, whatever, but the fact that they can kind of just change the canon. They can kind of just be like, he's Mars. He's on Mars. It's easier. He's on Mars. And it's like, well, what does anything mean then? You could just change it down the line.
So you know, at the end of the campaign in Destiny 2,
Yeah.
they pulled like a end of Mass Effect 1 showing you the Reapers in dark space. Maybe that's the end of Mass Effect 2. They pulled an end of one of the Mass Effect games showing you the Reapers in dark space by showing you those like black obsidian pyramids like outside the galaxy or whatever the fuck it was. And
Wait,
those
did they?
pyramids, I think so,
I don't remember
yeah.
this at all. Destiny 2 ending.
Did that? Did I imagine that? I swear,
But Pyramid
'cause
sounds very,
I remember having a conversation with Tom about it.
very
Because they're like the fifth race in
Curse of
Destiny, aren't they?
Osiris-y. So that might have just been that, to be fair.
Might not have been in Destiny 2. I might be
Ooh.
conflating things a bit on that one.
Well, it appears that I have disconnected.
Oh, that's not great.
Okay, I think I'm okay again.
Yeah, you alright?
Yeah, okay. Anyway, so maybe we'll have to cut that bit out, but
It'll be okay. Yes, there is uh, the unknown extragalactic race who exist in these big black pyramids are first observed in the post-credits cinematic in Destiny 2. They are potentially related to the collapse and implicated as an enemy of the Traveller. Yes, an ancient enemy that pursued the Traveller across the universe. Humanity faced extinction,
yeah.
but the Traveller made a choice. Blah blah blah. Yeah, so like,
I do semi-remember this, yeah.
and there's concept art from when Destiny was first being produced that shows 5 races, and it's they're like quite clearly the Cabal, the Fallen, the Vex, or say quite clearly, they show a design similarity to the Cabal, the Fallen, the Vex, the Hive. Is it the Hive?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's just this 5th one that's just like a bunch of clouds and some big black pyramids.
Weird.
And people have taken that, and then that kind of links up with this post-credit scene that demonstrates these black pyramids, and then from the fact that you literally forgot that that was a thing that happened, I'm guessing Destiny 2 hasn't even hinted anything at that.
No, like that's almost certainly a Destiny 3 thing, right? Because they want their big stories to, I imagine, remain in the game. So like Destiny 2, you still experience the Taken. So like, yeah, it is influenced by the DLC, but you could probably get away with playing, I think they introduce you at the beginning of the game to what they are, so you could get away with only playing the initial story of Destiny 1, going into Destiny 2 and not being too confused, because they go through everything you might have missed anyway. So I
Yeah.
imagine they don't want to introduce any of these big enemies in DLC maybe, but yeah, there's been no mention of this new threat. And then even then, the next DLC people are going to be what are they called? They do seem really cool, to be fair, but it's just more Fallen. It's reskinned Fallen characters.
Yeah, aren't they? Isn't it like on the reef?
Yeah, so it's a new area of the reef, and to be fair, they're making it really cowboy-y, which I kind of love. It seems like it's going to be cool, and there's some really cool-looking enemy designs. Like, it's not just the Fallen, and there are more bosses from the looks of it. And like, there's supposedly going to be a new raid, and
It's going to be like a raid zone, isn't it? Like it's going to be this a much larger area than just a single raid. I think is what I've heard described.
yeah, so because they had the initial raid and then 2 raid layers, so that was just like a different version of the same raid. So I think by saying a raid zone, they're saying it's a new area. I think, I'm not entirely sure. But my favorite part of one of the trailers that came out was we've just kind of left the raid people to it. They operate almost by themselves, and I was listening to that thinking, you probably shouldn't have, because they made some of the best content in the game. They should have been involved in the rest of the game. Because the raids are really cool and really interesting. Like, there's proper puzzle kind of mechanics going on. And if you don't... So the first time I played it with my brother's clan. And they all knew how to do it. They'd gone through it so many times. But even with having them describe it to me, it's just like, what the fuck is going on? There is no way I'd have figured it out by myself. And it's just so much depth. It's like, well, why didn't you include this in the rest of the game? But they're coming back with more for the next game, so...
Yeah, it's just such a bizarrely handled game. Like,
yeah, really, it's got so much potential, and I do really love playing it. But it's just so easy to rib on, and that's clearly a bad thing.
yeah, dude. I guess their complete inability to capitalize on that potential is what's going to end up. And I mean, maybe not. It's entirely possible. I would love to eat my words on this one, but it seems to me like their complete inability to actually capitalise on the potential they have is what's going to mean something like the Division 2 is going to come along and it'll eat its cake.
Yeah, they're going to be the PUBG of this genre, right? They've established the sort of prototype for this genre. They've shown that it's worth it. People are interested. And now Division's going to come along, or Anthem's going to come along and be like, well, here's a good version of it. Here's something that people are interested in sticking around with.
Yeah, or at least one that understands who's playing it. Because, like,
yeah,
that's the thing, right? Destiny 2 feels great to play.
Yeah, like unbelievably good. But to be fair, so does Division. I'm not sure if you've played the first one.
No, I never got a chance to play the Division, actually.
So I only played it because Chor had it, but I played it on his PC a few times. And it was the same. It felt really satisfying, but there was nothing in it.
Yeah.
But
and then I guess just like thinking about that and thinking about because I just hang on because I had a thought about your example there about PUBG, and I'm trying to bring it back. It's the idea that PUBG also had potential, and PUBG has a tension and like fucking rawness to it that is fascinating,
yeah,
like really awesome, and I prefer the way it plays to play PUBG than it does to play Fortnite. I've played some Fortnite Battle Royale mode and did not think it handled that well, and it didn't capture the thing about PUBG for me, which is PUBG feels like a battle royale. Like Fortnite feels like a good time, like a loose, silly, fun, goofy good time, and you can see why it's so appealing. PUBG feels like the rawest, fucking hardcore shit on the planet.
Yeah,
PUBG
which I guess
is like,
has its place.
Yeah, it's like seat of your pants, like edge of your seat, a whole bunch of stuff to do with seats. It's next, but also PUBG Corp did not do not understand who is playing their game. They do not know how to manage their game.
Not at
Like
all.
they have not been clear with their communication. They have on several occasions said one thing then done the other. They have not dealt with the huge amount of like people cheating and all this other shit that means that people aren't necessarily then that it's the market's turned around on it. Like their Steam reviews have turned around from overwhelmingly positive to overwhelmingly negative.
Yeah, it's because they're just like you say, they're not giving it the attention it deserves. I guess they're not fixing the problems. I mean, I think we started off this podcast and PUBG was the more popular one, and I mean even then, so battle royale games were still being spoken of a bit more than lots of other games, but I think PUBG was still out there as the one that sort of everybody played. But nowadays, you could ask, I think most people on the street would have heard of Fortnite at this point, just because it's in the news all the time. But I imagine you could easily get, like, people just wouldn't know what PUBG is.
Yeah, it's like the biggest game on the planet now, Fortnite. It's crazy.
Yeah. Unbelievably so.
I saw an article on the goddamn BBC the other day about a little girl who was played too
Addicted
much.
to
Like,
it.
yeah, and she
Yeah.
like wet herself.
Well, I mean, have you seen this whole thing with the World Health Organization adding gaming disorder to its classification of diseases or whatever?
Like, this is the thing that did it. It wasn't the thing when legitimate physicians said, "Nah, people have fucked their hands up so bad that we have to come up with a whole new medical condition that you only get when you play with controllers for like 20 hours a week." It wasn't that made the World Health Organization go, maybe video games are bad. It was fucking Fortnite.
It was Fortnite, yeah. Like, from the sounds of it, like the stories that were coming out, it was like people not going to work and stuff playing Fortnite. That's how popular it got. There was one of my favorite ones was a footballer who had to stop playing football because he'd gotten his hands had just fucked because of playing too much Fortnite, which is just brilliant, but also kind of terrible. And it's just, yeah, that game's gotten out of control, which, if that is what happens with Destiny and Division, which I doubt Division could get that big, but something potentially could.
Yeah.
It would be sad, because at least Bungie do actually give Destiny that attention. Like, they've clearly cared with these DLC, but that's too late. It's too late to be caring with the DLC. So you care about your topic and you made a bad mistake, but that's what's lost it. At least they cared. Whereas PUBG, a lot of the time, it sounds like they just want money.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but do you mean it's shit, dude? It's just as likely that it will be Fortnite that is actually the game that ends up challenging Destiny. Because like, I'm fairly certain people of Epic have now come out being like, the reason that Fortnite was in development for like 6 years was because we wanted to make it a platform from which we could kind of make any game we want. And that's why they had their like Fortnite Save the World thing that came out. And that was alright, but no one really lost their shit about it. But it was an interesting experience. And then they turned around their Battle Royale mode like immediately because they were like, they saw something
so
they could
quickly.
do with it. And they spent,
Well, it was during the beta, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying they saw something they could do with that engine, and they did it. And like, shit, dude, like it probably won't be Division or Anthem that ends up challenging Destiny, but you could totally see a world in which Epic just goes, and now we're going to have the third pillar of Fortnite, which is
A fucking loot shooter.
a loot shooter.
They could as well, like easily.
Because I can't imagine it's hard to make like extra shit content for that game. I mean, that's me being a total piece of shit armchair developer and like the worst of everyone who's ever been on the podcast. But also, I can't imagine it's that hard. It's fucking Epic.
They
A
put
game that they've spent the last like 8 years making, and an engine that they know inside and out because they fucking make it.
Yeah, like they could easily just turn around and add what they want. I say easily in terms of for them compared to developing a new loot shooter. It wouldn't be, I doubt it would be that difficult for them to put in like some new. Obviously, you'd have to put quite a few guns for a loot shooter, but work on making some guns, make them so the stats change, and then you could have some kind of weird little loot shooter in Fortnite. I feel
Like
like a
I'm
few years down the
fairly
line.
certain that the Fortnite Saves the World stuff already has some like RPG light elements to it that you could like adapt. Like I haven't actually played that part of the game. I've only played the Battle Royale uh part of it.
Yeah.
But I feel like that other side of it actually has some like kind of light RPG bits to it. So yeah, I mean, shit, dude. This is what we're actually describing here is a fucking nightmare dystopia because Epic uses the fact that they've made like the biggest game on the planet to make even bigger games, and suddenly all we have is just various different modes of Fortnite, and they buy Nintendo, and it's just like Fortnite of the wild.
You never know. I feel like it's something that could happen in today's day and age, you know?
The Legend of Fortnite. Sick loots.
They'll have to do a. When do you think the Telltale Games Fortnite's coming out?
Oh,
That's got to happen, right?
man.
There's a fucking Minecraft story mode. At least a Fortnite one would kind of make sense. It feels like there's more there, even though that doesn't actually make any sense. There's nowhere near. There's in no way more story for Fortnite than there is Minecraft. It's just because the characters look more realistic, I guess. But
Yeah. I mean, I guess
feel
we have to wait just a little bit longer until the cult of personality around Fortnite invents a character as charming and beloved as Minecraft Steve. and then I think that'll happen.
oh, there's already a few though, isn't there? They've got like name. Well, I mean, because obviously they've got like John Wick and stuff like that in it. But I think some of the other designs.
Wait, what?
Did you not know about this?
No.
I think last season or something, if you maxed out your levels, you got a John Wick outfit.
Oh shit, dude.
So there was just John Wicks running around everywhere. But they've added a few of these other things, so you get a costume, and they give them like a nondescript name so they don't get sued. But it's obviously based on someone. But you hear people talking about them now, so I mean they're not far off creating characters. There'll be
Oh.
Fortnite. I bet there's Fortnite machinimas, right?
Oh, almost surely. Almost surely. I would be surprised if there wasn't.
Yeah, well, madness. One of those. But what I was thinking about as we were talking about all this, and the sort of appeal of Fortnite, is Division to me. It feels like it's got more of an appeal than Destiny does. I don't know why. It feels like the kind of game that, I guess, because it's more grounded and war-y, you could imagine just like lads down the pub playing it, whereas Destiny, because it's got all this magic sci-fi nonsense, I guess it's still got that sort of stigma of being nerdy attached to
Nerd
it.
shit.
Yeah, that can be brushed away as nerd shit, whereas I feel like Division, it's harder for you to.
Yeah, like it's a post-apocalyptic third-person shooter, right? Like, shit, dude. Yeah. Whereas, I like all that good sci-fi shit in Destiny. I wish they lent into it more because when they don't, it's a really boring universe, as
It was the
demonstrated
same.
by the campaign of Destiny 2. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is a much harder proposition because like like the Division 2 will load up and it says make a character and you can make yourself like I can make someone just like me, a kind of average height, average build, generic looking white man who's going to wear a beanie hat and a coat and I can go and fight people. And then when Destiny 2 loads up, it's like make your character and you could be like a blue dude or a robot, and I think that's sick. But you can also see how that, yeah, I think that's a really good point, Dylan. They are somewhat different beasts tonally,
Yeah.
as well as their approach to DLC.
Yeah. Which is a shame. I don't know. Maybe we'll see a shift to people liking sci-fi more with stuff like The Expanse and things like that. They're becoming more popular, aren't they?
Yeah. Who
But
knows?
also, I mean, Bungie have already shown that they have no idea what to do with story, because the story behind Halo is, like, unbelievably in-depth and cool, but it's not really explored in the games at all, is it?
No, not really.
I think most people who have played Halo have just run through it, shot some flood, and be like, "Yeah, that was cool," without even like an idea of the whole Spartan bullshit. He's just a superpowered soldier, isn't he?
Bungie they're so good at like coming up with a bunch of sci-fi proper nouns and then just not doing anything with it. Going,
Yeah.
these are the Covenant. This is the Pillar of Autumn. This is 343 Guilty Spark. These are the Halos. This is the Forsaken and the Awoken. And these are the Vex. And this is the Traveller. And he's got the light. And it makes guardians. And it protects you from the darkness. And they weave a rich tapestry of words into something that is like fucking a millimetre deep.
It just sounds like a nerd took a bunch of cocaine.
Coke nerds.
Just took a fucking speedball and started naming things, and then crashed, forgot everything, and didn't finish the story.
And then when he released the game, had an epiphany and decided to make a website that explained all of his bullshit.
It's like, oh wait, I see how it ties together now. Shit, I better tell everyone.
Oh.
Right, well that was a.
I didn't
We managed to talk for 50 minutes. Basically nothing. We had no plan.
You know what? When we went into this, as I said, I didn't really have much to go on, and we ended up speaking for I'm going to say a solid 40 minutes of that was us just whinging about Destiny.
But in a constructive way, I feel.
Yeah.
We got lots to say.
There's
Prepare
always
yourselves for Mark and Dylan make a podcast number 5. It's going to be spicy.
Who knows what we'll talk about? Maybe I'll have played a video game since then.
Well, we have to play To the Moon in the next, week.
I'll go a free weekend this weekend. That's my plan, is just to, poop sock that game.
I do not, but I'll figure out. I'll find somewhere to do it.
Does it have an iOS version? iOS? Not Apple OS, Mac OS.
Mac OS, potentially.
Yes, it does.
Sick!
And Steam OS, if you want to be running it on a hot Linux cluster.
Oh shit, should I install Steam OS on my fucking work server? They'll love that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
That'd be bad. Right.
Well, in that case, D-Man, Big DZ, I think we should call it an episode.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure as always. I always enjoy these Mark and Dylan make a podcast. Which sounds mean. I enjoy all of them, but
the whole enterprise is enjoyable. There's a special something. There's a purity, a
This is where we
nostalgic
started.
purity to these.
yeah, exactly. What was the first one? Something burritos. No, that was the theme tune. Fuck.
No, it's Mark and Dylan get a burrito, because you'd never had a burrito before.
Oh shit, that was the first time I had a burrito.
And we thought
Man.
somehow it would be compelling hashtag content for you to eat a burrito and then attempt to explain your first ever burrito experience.
To be fair, we didn't really speak much about burritos. We rambled on in the way we are doing now.
I think we spoke about Halo then as well.
Yeah, well, this is where we decided that we probably actually need to do a podcast with slightly more structure to it, because we couldn't keep coherent for longer than 5 minutes. So had to be like, yeah, we can't do this. We should probably get other people involved.
No,
And then-
not other people.
Is that when we then started the radio show, or was that?
That might have been when
Before-
we started the radio show.
I think so. Anyway, good times. We've made 5 of these now, I guess, in total. 1 unreleased over the past 2 years.
Dude, that's some hot shit. Maybe for the next one, we should make it if there's another time where it's just me and you, and we know about it with enough time in advance, we should use it as the pilot for Mark and Dylan Want to Believe.
Yeah, okay. Let's not explain what we mean by that either.
Yeah.
Let's leave that
Hopefully-
hanging.
Yeah, people should be able to work that out.
I don't know, that's quite broad. Maybe some people will.
Yeah. Just like watch a bunch of magic.
Yeah. Just like, this magician's definitely real. 100%. David Blaine's got actual magic powers.
He's a fucking wizard! I had a man at work the other day tell me an anecdote which he opened by assuming, I say assuming, intimating that maybe I'd never heard of Harry Potter. And I thought it was really weird. He was like, so do you know Harry Potter? Are you with Harry Potter? Are you familiar with Harry Potter? So in Harry Potter... I was like, what? What do you mean am I familiar with it? Yes, I've somehow managed to miss one of the biggest multimedia franchises of the last 20 years. Whoopsie.
It just blew me. But I mean, I recognise the name, but is it about lightsabers or what's that one?
Is that the one about the lightsabers? Sounds like a plumber. Or maybe a gardener.
Sounds like a plumber.
Well, I'm thinking of Harry Potter.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I might actually edit that out. That's one of the worst things I've ever said. I'm not going to do that either.
No, that would be disingenuous and terrible of you. I'd start spreading vicious rumours about you on Twitter.
I thought you already did.
Oh, but that's...
Isn't that why I get loads of mean DMs?
It's actually just me taking up my frustration.
It's just you. You've got a bunch of Twitter alts, so you keep sliding into my DMs and chatting a bunch of shit.
I just send a few vitriolic tweets and then leave for my new one, for my new alt.
Just caning through those Gmail accounts.
I've got hundreds of them now. I'm winning ridiculous amounts of online competitions.
I think that's illegal.
Shit. I didn't say anything.
Maybe I'll edit that out.
Oh, maybe.
No.
It's not true, it's fine.
So this has been Mark and Dylan Record Get a Fourth podcast. And it wouldn't be a Mark and Dylan special if we didn't round it out with a solid 3 minutes of complete and utter rambling nonsense. So I've been Mark, and Dylan has been Dylan, and you can catch us on iTunes at Shouting Over Static, a video game show and tell podcast. You can catch us at SoundCloud at Shouting Over Static, a video game show and tell podcast, and you can catch us on the YouTubes at Low Expectations Media, because that is our self-deprecating name for the entire media empire that hosts that radio show that we did and a few videos, and then this podcast, which has been going on for ages now. So, you know,
yeah, with still very minimal viewers or publicity. We have a Facebook account now. That's pretty good of us, to be fair.
Yeah, I was going to say we've got a Facebook now, and we're getting up to something like a regular 3 to 4 people a week, and I don't think any of them are me. So it could just be the other 3 people on this show.
No, I don't listen to these.
And someone's mum.
It's not me. I think Jack listens to them, to be fair.
That's fair.
So shout out to Jack. Thanks for supporting us.
Shout out to all the Jacks.
God.